Okay, so welcome all to Saclay for this 23rd Claude Dixon conference, which is dedicated to the memory of Cyrano de Dominicis, who passed away last year. It's a pleasure to see all these faces of all these people who have been collaborators and friends of Cyrano. I myself, with François, we entered this lab in 1976 when Cyrano was the head of the lab. And I think the next speaker, Bernard Derrida. So there, by the way, there is a change of the order in the program. Giorgio Parisi is sick, so he will come only tomorrow night, and so his talk is scheduled on Wednesday morning. There will be an updated program very soon, which will be handed to you during the break. And Luca Pellitti is also sick, so there seems to be an epidemic in Italy. And he's replaced by Catherine Pépin, who has accepted to give a talk in his place. So we have three introductory talks, and the first one is by François David, the head of the lab, who will talk for a few minutes.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome. I think Henri did all what I had to say, so I can only repeat that welcome to all of you. I'm both happy and a bit sad to be there, because I'm happy to see so many friends of Cyrano and colleagues, and also, of course, friends and colleagues of Claude Dixon. And I'm sad because since this is the 23rd edition of those Dixon meeting, it means that Claude passed away 24 years ago. That's already a long time, I don't realize. And Cyrano passed away last year, as you know. So both were, roughly speaking, of the same generation. Well, Cyrano was older, slightly older than Claude, but they, as far as I know, they entered in the CEA and started to work at what was called at that time, I think, Service de Physique Théorique or Département de Physique Théorique, or maybe something much older. And they were both two very, some of the founding, or just the very first generation after the founding fathers of the theory group in Saclay. And both of them, in different ways, has been immensely influential for French physics and for theoretical physics. So, what could I say? Yeah, so I know, as Henri told, in fact, when I entered, Cyrano was already some kind of master and well-established figure, because he was the head of the Service de Physique Théorique at that time. And well, maybe the only little funny anecdote I can say is that when I arrived for a few days or weeks, I thought the institute had two directors. He had Mr. Cyrano and Mr. de Dominicis, because I never saw him, because I couldn't imagine that Cyrano was just the first name. Okay, so that's the only anecdote I could say about Cyrano concerning myself. Of course, after that I saw him as a very lively and active person, first as a director and then as a scientist. And what I think that's all what I can say. I've been very sad when he passed away. Until the very last year, my office was in front of him, and I was very impressed by his energy and this very long and huge calculation he was doing by hand, while young people like me are now using Mathematica and are less perseverant and less imaginative. Okay, so I think I will stop there, because Roger and Edouard and all of you can speak much better than me and in depth of both his scientific legacy and his human legacy, because he was involved in a lot of let's say, political and human rights project. He was very close to young people in the institute until the very last. So that's all what I can say at the moment. hope we'll have the opportunity to chat with all of you and to learn even more about Cyrano. So thank you very much for coming. Thanks for your attention and your contribution. And thank you, Cyrano. And now this is time for Roger.
I'm probably the one who has the oldest recollection of Cyrano, since I met him when I was in Nice at school, and he had just ended up École Polytechnique in 1952 and began research already. I met him on Promenade des Anglais, and the purpose of this meeting was that everybody who was there was just sitting and looking at beautiful girls, an activity which he liked very much already at that time. He was extremely handsome and very attractive, but at the same time, we spoke a little about his research he was beginning, and this helped me also to decide that I would also be a searcher. This was in 1952. It's very old, very long ago. Then we met again when he came back from his thesis in Birmingham under the supervision of Payels. He had a big admiration for Payels, and they liked him very much, and this came even to me, because Payels just, Sherrington for instance, has collections which are connected with Payels and Cyrano. At Saclay, he began working after his thesis on nuclear physics in Birmingham. He began to work with Claude Bloch, and they set up the very basis of many-body quantum problem by establishing the diagrammatic expansion of thermodynamic functions, which was just first milestone in many-body problem. Then he did something which impressed me very much, since I have never passed any thesis. He passed a second thesis. He was twice doctor, which was quite impressive. Then we began to work together, and working together, we just tried to set up the phenomenological Landau theory of Fermi liquids and Bose liquids on formal strong basis, starting from expansions and so on, and modifying them so as to prove these phenomenological theories. Then at that time, we were working at Service de Physique Mathématique, which was the first avatar of Institut de Physique Théorique, and which was in Saclay, within Saclay. We happened for some months, during the summer months, to come from Paris by bicycle. I don't say that I would have drawn him to cycle, but the converse was true. He was so sportive that he succeeded to let me cycle for days and days. First directly from Paris, but then from Massy-Palaiseau, which was, it climbs a little, so it's not so simple. Cyrano was, and then Cyrano went into other types of physics, probably Edouard will talk about his achievements in theory of phase transitions, especially for non-equilibrium problems. And then Cyrano, we no longer work together, but then all of you know his achievements in the theory of disordered system, and especially spin glasses, of which he was an expert. I think I should say a few words about his way of working, which was, he worked in a very tough fashion. It was, this meeting is devoted to Claude Itzigson and Cyrano. They represent two different ways of making physics. Itzigson's physics was the elegant style, trying to avoid everything which was hard and so on. Whereas Cyrano was just the converse. Cyrano was tough, making huge calculations. He had big sheets of paper, and he made lots and lots of calculations. And in the end, he succeeded to solve very difficult questions, very difficult problems after hard work. But this hard work didn't prevent him from being extremely open. He had always very many collaborators. Many of them are here. You know that. He had a very easy communication, and it was very fruitful. Even when we didn't work on the same subjects, we had exchanges which were very fruitful on both directions. About the personality of Cyrano, of course, you all know that he was extremely involved in social, political affairs due to his great generosity, and this was he passed a long time to do that. His daughter told me that when she was very young, she accompanied him when he was on Sundays when he was selling L'Humanité Dimanche, the journal, and she told me that she thought it was his job. Okay, so apart from that, he liked very much sport. He climbing especially in Fontainebleau and so on, and he also liked, and this explains also why you are here, many of you. He liked very much traveling and going to other laboratories in many countries in the world, especially in Brazil, which he liked very much. I don't know what else can I say. The remaining is something which you know.